Hello my dear students, which us now. In this part we will talk about comparative and superlative adjectives. Firstly, let me ask you a question. Why do we use comparative and superlative adjectives? Let's talk about comparative adjectives. We use comparative adjectives, number one, to make comparisons. For example, he bought a faster car. Number two, to compare two things. For example, chicken is cheaper than meat. Number three, to describe how something changes. For example, he's feeling happier. Now let's talk about the form of comparative adjectives. But before we start, you have to know that we have two kinds of adjectives: short adjectives and long adjectives. Short adjectives such as small, big, short, and tall, whereas long adjectives such as expensive, comfortable, difficult, and popular. We can make comparative with short adjective as follows. We use an adjective plus er plus than. For example, Ali is taller than Ahmed. Here we have the adjective, which is a short adjective, tall, plus er and than. Here we are talking about two people. Another example, my brother is older than me. Here we have old, which is a short adjective, plus er plus than. Whereas we make comparative with long adjectives as follows. We use less or more plus adjective plus than. For example, traveling by plane is more comfortable than traveling by train. Another example, silver is less expensive than gold. Here we used more or less because we have long adjectives which are comfortable and expensive. Now we have some notes which are related to the spelling of adjectives. Number one, when the adjective ends in E, we add R. For example, nice, nicer, wide, wider. Number two, when the adjective ends in a vowel and a consonant, we double the consonant, then we add ER. For example, big, bigger, hot, hotter, fat, fatter. Number three, when the adjective ends in a consonant and Y, we replace it with IER. For example, happy, happier, pretty, prettier. Now I'd like to tell you that we have some adjectives that don't follow these rules. They have irregular comparative forms. For example, good changed into better, bad changed into worse, far changed into farther or further. Also, before comparative adjectives, we can use words such as a lot, much, far, or a little to say that there is a big or small difference between two people or things. For example, the Giza pyramids are far older than the Cairo citadel. These cakes are a little cheaper than these ones. Nesma is much more sensible than she used to be. In these examples, we used far older, a little cheaper, much more sensible. So we used far, a little, and much before comparative adjectives. Thus we have talked about comparative adjectives. It's time to talk about superlative adjectives. Firstly, why do we use superlative adjectives? We use superlatives, number one, to compare more than two things. For example, I like all your books, but this one is the best. Number two, to describe extremes. For example, Mount Everest is the highest mountain on earth. We can make superlative adjectives with short adjectives as follows. We use the plus adjective plus est. For example, this is the hottest month. Danny is the tallest boy in our class. In the first example, we used the hottest, the plus adjective plus est. In the second example, we said the tallest. Also, we have the plus adjective, which is tall plus est, the hottest and the tallest. Whereas we make superlative adjectives with long adjectives as follows. We use the most or the least plus adjective. For example, that's the most interesting book I have ever read. Another example, this car is the least expensive one. In the first example, we have a long adjective which is interesting. So we use the most. We said the most interesting. In the second example, we have also a long adjective which is expensive. So we said the least expensive. The most interesting and the least expensive, both of them are superlative adjectives. Now we have some notes which are related to the spelling of adjectives when we make superlatives. Number one, when the adjective ends in E, we add st, as in nice, nicest, wide, widest. Number two, when the adjective ends in Y, we replace it with IEST, as in heavy, heaviest, pretty, prettiest. Number three, when the adjective ends in a vowel and a consonant, we double the consonant, as in big, biggest, hot, hottest, thin, thinnest, fat, fattest. But we have some adjectives that don't follow these rules. They have irregular forms. For example, good changed into the best, bad, the worst, little, the least, full, the first, many or much, the most, far, the farthest, or the furthest. For example, Prophet Muhammad was the best leader in history. This is the worst exam I have ever done. In the first example, we use the best. In the second one, we use the worst. The best and the worst, both of them are irregular superlative forms. In this way, we have talked about comparatives and superlatives. It's time we talked about similarity. We use as plus adjective or adverb plus as to make comparisons when the things we are comparing are equal in some ways. For example, Sarah is as old as Mona. It means that Sarah is the same age as Mona. Also, when we say chemistry is as difficult as biology, it means that chemistry has the same difficulty as biology. Also, we can use not, as or so plus adjective plus as to give the negative form. For example, Arabic isn't as or so difficult as biology. Another example, it's not as or so heavy as I thought it would be actually. In the first example, we used isn't as or so difficult as. In the second one, we also used isn't as or so heavy as. Finally, we have some important notes to talk about. Number one, we can use the word never with comparatives. For example, I have never bought a faster car than Mercedes. Number two, we can use the word ever with superlatives. For example, Mercedes is the fastest car I have ever bought. Number three, comparison and contrast are expressed by the use of the with comparative adjectives in parallel clauses. This structure is used to show proportionate increase or decrease. So we use the plus comparative adjective plus close, plus the plus comparative adjective plus close. For example, the more you practice, the more you get better. Here we use the more in the first clause and the more in the second clause. Another example, the better the prayer, the closer to Allah. We use the better and the closer. The fewer mistakes you make, the higher marks you get. Here we use the fewer and the higher. Number 4, there are some adjectives that can be used as short adjectives and long adjectives at the same time, as in clever, narrow, friendly, quiet, simple, and polite. For example, we can say simple, simpler, simplest, or simple, more simple, the most simple. Here the word or the adjective symbol is used as a short adjective and a long adjective at the same time. Number 5, we can use most to give the same meaning as very. For example, we attended a most interesting lecture. A most interesting equals very interesting. The question that's asked most often. Most often means very often. Number 6, we can use the with comparative adjectives when talking about two things of the same kind. For example, of the two cars, this is the faster. Nada is the younger of two girls. Here we are talking about two people or two things of the same kind. Number 7, the difference between farther and further. Number 1, we use farther when talking about physical, metaphorical, or figurative distance. For example, we decided not to go any farther. Here we use the word farther to express physical distance. Whereas we use further when talking about non-measurable advancement. For example, you must act without any further delays. So we can say that the word further here means more. We can say further delay equals more delays. Number 8, the difference between elder and older. Number 1, elder is only used to refer to persons. For example, my elder sister couldn't go to school because she missed the bus. Here we are talking about a person who is my sister, so we use the word elder. Whereas older is used to refer to both persons and things. For example, my parents are older than your parents. Here we are talking about people who are my parents. The second example, the older version of the software had many useful features than this one. Here we are talking about a thing, which is the older version. Let's do some practice. Choose the correct answer. Number 1, health and happiness are space the money. Important, more important, as important, the least important. The correct answer is more important. Number 2, Mexican food is usually spicier than French food. Spicier, spiciest, most spicy, much spicy. The correct answer is spicier. Again, spicier. Number 3, in my opinion, fish tastes spicier than oyster. A lot good, a lot better, a lot pest, pest. The correct answer is a lot better. Again, a lot better. Number 4, Is food in the UK better or space than it used to be? Bad, worse, the worst, worst. The correct answer is worse. Again, worse. Number 5. What is the space meal of the day in your family? Important, most important, more important, much important. The correct answer is most important. Again, most important. Number 6. This is the space month of the year. Hotter, hottest, most hot, much hot. The correct answer is hottest. Again, hottest. Number 7. I bought a space car. Faster, fastest, most fast, much fast. The correct answer is faster. Again, faster. Number 8. Vegetable curry is usually space meal on the menu. The spiciest, then spicer, spicer, most spicer. The correct answer is the spiciest. Again, the spiciest. Number 9. Gold is space more expensive than silver. More, much, most, many. The correct answer is much. Again, much. Number 10. Traveling by train is space cheaper than traveling by car. More, a little, most, many. The correct answer is a little. Again, a little. Number 11. The history test was the space test that we have had this year. Difficult, most, more, most difficult. The correct answer is most difficult. Again, most difficult. Number 12. Water is the space expensive of all liquids. Less, most, more, least. The correct answer is least. Again, least. That meal was too salty. It was space meal I have ever had at a restaurant. As good as, better than, the worst, the best. The correct answer is the worst. Again, the worst. Space stressed a person is, the more likely he or she is to die young. So, the more, as more, the most. The correct answer is the more. Again, the more. The Amazon is not as long as the Nile. The Nile is the space of the two. As long as, the long, longer than, the longer. The correct answer is the longer. Again, the longer. I don't read as space books as you do. I wish I could read more. Much, more, many. The correct answer is many. Again, many. This book was better than the last one she wrote. I didn't like it. Worst, worse, bad, best. The correct answer is worse. Again, worse. In the past, people didn't have space forms of entertainment as we do today. So much, the most, as many, the fewest. The correct answer is as many. Again, as many. The slower you drive, the space you are. Safe, safest, safer, most long. The correct answer is safer. Again, safer. You must act without any space delays. Farther, further, farthest, furthest. The correct answer is further. Again, further. Lamia is the space of the two sisters. Younger, youngest, as young as, young. The correct answer is younger. Again, younger. Sarah is the same space as Mona. Age, old, young, older. The correct answer is age. Again, age. He is space of the two. Cleverer, the cleverer, the cleverest, the clever. The correct answer is the cleverer. Again, the cleverer. Sarah is my space sister. Elder, older, old, both A and P. The correct answer is both A and P. So we can say elder sister or older sister. That's the least interesting book I have space read. Never, ever, yet, hardly. The correct answer is ever. Again, ever. Thanks for listening.